Welcome, 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 everybody. It is so wonderful to see you here today. I'm so excited. I can't believe we've been on such a journey for the last couple weeks. Before we get going today, and before I introduce our fantastic speaker, I just want to share with you something really unique that happened in our region, and why all this professional development happened. We had a really cool opportunity come to us in December where there were other projects in Los Angeles that didn't use all the funding they had. And we were basically granted about $80,000 just at El Camino College to offer 6 weeks of professional development and learning. And I've got to tell you, it's been really intense having all these workshops back to back, but thank you so much for showing up, because I kept trying to express this is a one-time shot. We got this funding. We just got to do this. Stick with me. And I just am so impressed how many people keep coming back to learn and grow and be better educators, and honestly, to be better people. So today is our last day. We have 3 workshops today. I'm hoping that some of you will be able to stay on for this whole workshop with this speaker. She's fantastic. I'm going to talk about her in just a second. And then we have 2 more workshops later today. We have one that's about nature-based practices in early childhood education. And then at the night tonight, we have got one of my favorite people. Her name is Tracy Payton, and she's the director of special education for 5 districts. And Tracy's going to talk about all the different opportunities for different careers in special education. And just we're so lucky for this opportunity. I appreciate you being here. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here. Today, we're going to learn about building community. And we have such an honor of actually being in the space with Alondra Diaz. And she's California's 2022 Teacher of the Year. She literally has been recognized as the statewide highest level teacher of best practices in the state of California. And I'm just so honored that I've gotten a chance to get to know her over the last couple of weeks. And here's the coolest thing, what you see right now and what you get to experience over the next 2 hours, this space of coming together, this community you're going to feel like you're part of. It's totally authentic and it's coming from the heart. And that's the best place where your intentions can come from when you are an educator. So welcome everybody for being here today. I'd like to hand the floor over to California's 2022 Teacher of the Year, Alondra Diaz. Thank you so much, Alondra, for being here today and sharing this space with us.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here with you all. I am excited to be in this shared space. I'd love to get to know you a little bit. This is the first step in building community, is who is in your classroom, who is in your space. And so what I'd love for you to write on the chat is tell me your name, if you're a college student, and then tell me one thing you love to do in your free time that fills you with joy. What is it that you love to do? So one thing is your name, and then tell me if you're a college student, if you're a professor, if you're a director, a coordinator, a teacher, and then tell me one thing you love to do that brings you joy and fills your bucket. On the chat here, I would love to see you guys. And while you do this, I want to welcome you officially to the next, this space in which we'll be spending 2 hours. And we are going to just be in community. That's what we're going to do. So I don't have all the answers to everything. I want to share my experience with you. This is just one way, and I've done this for 15 years, and I've seen and learned from my colleagues. So when I present today, I want to bring with me my mentors, and I want to bring with me my mentees that I've mentored in the last 10 years. And I want to tell you that this is a collective presentation. They are not here physically, but this is all of us presenting what we have created. All right, so I see. All right, so James, awesome. You love to dance. Ooh, what type of dance do you like, James? Alina Ayala, you love to babysit younger kids. I have an 8-year-old, so might have to contact you. You love to garden. See, Renee, I learn something new every time I hang out with you. All right. Veronica, you are a college student and you love to read. Okay, what's your favorite genre? Type it in the chat. What is it? Like, I love young adult novels. You love to play with your dogs. Says that. How many dogs do you have and what type of dogs are they? Eunice, a college student, loves to read. Oh, you like to read just like Veronica. Give her a shout out, you guys. That's something you guys have in common. All right, Sita Martinez, college student, you love to read. Okay, we got lots of readers, got lots of scholars in the house. Michelle, Mateo, you are, ooh, perfect. You're getting so close. Elementary school, woo woo, give it up for elementary educators. Wonderful. And anything and every, let's see, anything and every, okay, that's what you love to dance. All right, I love merengue, cumbia, salsa, reggaeton, bachata. And let's see, who do we have here? Dalia. Okay. Oh, Cesar, you had 3 dogs. Oh, wow. I commend you for having 3 dogs. We have 1 and it's a lot of work. Let's see. Kathleen Guzman. Guzman is my maiden last name. I have something in common with you, and you like to work on projects with your daughter. How old is your daughter? Let's see, Amy, you are a student and ooh, you're transferring. Congratulations. Wow, wonderful. And you love to take walks. Beautiful. Oh, she's 7. I have an 8-year-old. Wonderful. All right, so I see a lot of you love to read. A lot of you like to do outdoor activities, and a lot of you are college students preparing to go to become educators. What grade level would you like to teach? Can you put that in the chat? What grade level is like your ideal grade level to teach that you want to? And elementary, what would it be? Middle school, what would it be? And high school, what would it be? Or if you want to be a college professor, what is the topic that you'd like to teach? So go ahead and write that in the chat. What grade level is your preferred? Kindergarten, yes, early readers. TK second, you like the little ones? Kindergarten, yes, so special. I've never taught I never taught kindergarten. And I see all my colleagues teaching kinder. I'm like, wow, you deserve a special medal every single year. All of you guys. Preschool, wonderful, Veronica. 4th grade or math professor. I love the range there. I love the range, Eunice there. Kindergarten or first. Okay, lots of early childhood, elementary, high school. All right, Cesar, what topic, what curriculum or subject would you like to teach? Okay, we got lots of TK kinders. Wonderful. Lots of literacy strengths there. All right. Special education, history or high school. Nice. Yes, we have a lot of need for lots of different history perspectives there. Elementary, special education. All right, wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for sharing some information about you. And I'm really excited to share a little bit about me. And I also am going to invite you in the chat to share a little bit about you. So if you have not heard me speak in the previous events, I am a first-generation college graduate. I grew up in Santa Ana in Orange County. My mom was a single mom of 4, and we had to overcome lots of challenges and lots of obstacles that were posed by poverty. My mom worked 2 jobs. She came to this country for better opportunities. And because of her sacrifices, I am able to live the dream and the American dream here. I do what I love for a living, and I have been able to change the direction of my life thanks to leaning onto those educators who cared and who made me feel a sense of belonging. Mrs. Yellen was my 5th grade teacher, and I knew I wanted to be a teacher when I was 10 years old and I was in her class. Mrs. Yellen would wear this peachy pink lipstick, kind of similar to what I'm wearing right now. She'd wear matching earrings with necklaces, and she'd match it with her shoes. And she was very trendy. I thought she was super cool and I knew I wanted to be just like her. But what made me want to be like her wasn't necessarily her fashion style. It was that she made me feel a sense of belonging. And prior to writing to Mrs. Yellen's class, I had thought of myself as not a good student. In fact, I thought I was a bad student. And I thought that I wasn't what everybody else was in the classroom. So I couldn't read the way that other students would be able to read. I couldn't sit still the way other students would sit still because I had some learning differences. And so I learned very young. I sort of had taken in an identity of a student that wasn't necessarily true. It was of a student who couldn't learn, who didn't have potential. And that was what I had accepted. And in 5th grade, Mrs. Yellen was like, no, you can learn, you got this. And I love that she changed this for me because of her, the direction of my life changed completely. When I was in kinder through 4th grade, although I loved school, I didn't feel like I belonged in a space that was for me. And in 5th grade, I felt safe. In 5th grade, I felt seen. I felt heard. I felt valued. And Mrs. Yellen did something for me that was it was hope. It gave me hope. And I remember the first time I knew I wanted to be a teacher, I was sitting right in front of her at the carpet when she was doing a read aloud, and she was drinking from her mug. She was drinking powdered iced tea, Nestle powdered iced tea, peachy flavor. I could smell that from how close I was to her. And I knew I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't know how to get there because no one in my family had ever attended college. So that was another obstacle that I had to overcome, was how do I navigate this space to become a teacher? So in middle school, I had a wonderful choir teacher. And although I did not know how to read musical notes, and I'd never sang before, never read music before, I joined this choir. And here, Karan Holland, my middle school teacher, she believed in me the same way that Mrs. Yellen did. And so that dream of becoming a teacher just continued. It was a fire that was just growing and growing and growing. And so Karan Holland helped me again see myself the way that Mrs. Yellen had allowed me to see myself. How did she allow me to see myself? As a learner who could learn anything, as a student with potential, and as a student with strengths, that I came in with something. I was not an empty, I was an empty vessel. I came in with experiences. I came in with values. I came in with lots to give to my community. So when I became a teacher, I knew that I wanted to create a community in which every student felt seen, heard, and validated in the same way that Mrs. Yellen had made me feel. So she was really my first mentor, my mentor teacher. She was the first teacher I wanted to be just like, and I wanted to emulate. So what I did is I started to think about my experience in these classes in which I was able to show my potential and reach my potential. What did these teachers do for me? They created a safe environment for me to be myself in an authentic way. I learned that I didn't need to change who I was to fit into school. I learned that I didn't have to give up who I was to fit in to school and reach my goals. And I love what these teachers did because they helped me evolve into a contributing member of society. And I wanted to do the same for students. And so when I became a teacher, the first grade level I taught was 5th grade, the same grade that Mrs. Yellen taught. And that first day of school, I put on peachy pink lipstick. And I wasn't as cool as Mrs. Yellen with, matching earrings and everything. But I do remember standing in front of them saying, okay, I'm here. What do I do? How do I do this? This is scary. I'm by myself in a classroom with kids. I've worked so hard. I've gone to college. I've been in classrooms. I've, been mentored. And then you stand there and you're just like, what am I going to do with these kids? They trusted me to have these students. And all I wanted to do was make them feel safe, heard, seen, and validated in my class. How did I do this? Well, it's taken me, I've been teaching for 15 years and it's taken me a while, but now I feel like, okay, I know what instantly builds community. And we're doing this right now by sharing and finding connections between each other, right? How did I do that? I pointed out what 2 students had shared that was similar. I'm trying to make a connection there. We do that by getting to know our students. Very simple things about our students. It could be a question of the day that we pose every day, where students feel like, oh, there's someone else who likes that. There's someone else who feels that way. So I want you to think about, I just shared my story about Mrs. Yellen and Karan Holland. I want you to think about your teacher. For me, it was peachy pink lipstick that when I think about it, it takes me back to that time, peach iced tea. I don't know, like I was 10 years old, I'm 38 now. I still think about that. What about you? What did that teacher who inspired you to become a teacher do? What do you remember about them? I remember I did was in a talk or talking, and I asked this question, and somebody said that their middle school teacher went around in rollerblades, in the classroom. I thought that was so cool. And she was able to vividly remember that. So what about you? Tell me in the chat. Who was that teacher? Who was that professor? Who was that mentor? And what do you remember about this person? It could be something that they made you feel. It could be something you remember, a detail that you remember about the way that they looked or what they did in class. So go ahead and write that in the chat for me, please. And I look forward to getting to know a little bit about your story. Oh my goodness. Oh, Michelle, that is beautiful. She believed in you. I love that. We just talked about this yesterday in our in one of the events about the power of believing in someone. Yeah, your history teacher, Renee. Yep. Oh my goodness. Advocated. I'm looking at these words that really are standing out from your stories, and I see believing. I see advocate. Yeah, teachers advocate and saw potential in you. Cindy, that's so beautiful. Wow. Avid teacher. I hear a lot about avid teachers. Those history teachers, Amy, I hear that a lot. History teachers. Wow. Recruited you? Okay. Wow, that's beautiful. I love to read these stories. Part of your story is what is driving you to become a teacher, right? That is, if not, that's what's driving you, right? Your why is, I have found out that your why is closely tied to an experience in school or a teacher. And as you prepare to become an educator, it's going to be so important for you to keep that close to your heart and tell your story in a powerful way. High school English. I love that. So she wanted you to improve, right? Or the high school teacher, high school English again. Oh, thank you for sharing. Rave music playing. I love this. And would be dancing and jumping around trying to get us pumped for English. I was struggling with depression. I couldn't complete my assignments on time because it caused a lot of anxiety. He would stay back in class with me and really help me. Wow. I am feeling so inspired by these stories that you're telling right now in the chat. And I want to thank you for being vulnerable and sharing something that is very personal. These are very personal stories. And I want to thank you for accepting the invitation to do that here. Invested. Point, there are these words that are really sticking out for me. Advocating, investing, helping, believing. He made me feel seen and important. Yes, that is exactly how Mrs. Yellen made me feel. She made me feel seen and important. And there were times where I felt like I was the only student in Mrs. Yellen's class. And I know that was not true. That was not true at all. But she made me feel like I was the only student in her class. And that was so powerful because that is what allowed me to feel like I was seen. All right, your fourth grade teacher. Yeah, elementary, lots of high school teachers that were impactful in this group. I love that. Thank you so much. So I want to take the time to tell you a little bit about where I teach. So I told you a little bit of my story and why I became a teacher. I wanted to be just like her, Mrs. Yellen, and I wanted to make students feel safe, a sense of belonging, seen, heard, and validated. So where did I teach? I actually taught in my immediate community where I grew up, down the street from where I grew up. And I started teaching fifth grade and then went up to sixth grade, taught a little bit of middle school. And I love that grade level because they're like big kids, but they're like super sweet and kind, and they're just getting bigger, and they just need to be loved a lot more. And they have like special ways to accept that in the upper grades. And I taught in a dual language. I have always taught in a dual language program, which means that my students are receiving instruction both in Spanish and English. In the program that I teach, it's a dual language program that is a 90-10 model. So this means that in kindergarten, 90% of the instruction is done in Spanish and 10% of the instruction is done in English. The 10% of instruction in kindergarten is not written. It is that kids are not reading, kids are not writing. It's oral language development. It's really that 10%. And then slowly we move up to all the way to fifth grade, where the instruction becomes 50% Spanish, 50% English, and that is taken all the way to high school. So this dual language program that I was in downtown Santa Ana, or it still exists there. And we were a pretty small school, K-8, and we were very, very, very tight community. I've always taught in dual language programs, like I've mentioned, because I believe there is so much power in bringing students together who are native Spanish speakers and native English speakers, and you bring them together to work, collaborate, teach, and learn together. And I say teach and learn together because we have native Spanish speakers and native English speakers who are in an environment in which, they're both learning another language. The native Spanish speakers are learning English, and the native English speakers are learning Spanish. So they are all language learners. If we're in monolingual programs, we have some language learners. We have some English language learners, but in a dual language program, everyone is a language learner. And we use each other as assets. Like my native Spanish speakers will help with the syntax and, the verb conjugation to my English, right, native speakers. And we are lifting their strengths. We are bringing in what they come in from home, and we elevate it, and we help them see that they are contributors. And so that is a bit different, right? If you're in a monolingual setting, where the students are not able to speak their native language. And so they're coming with so much, right? So in a dual language program, they get to put that into practice. They get to put this in a place where they can give to others. And likewise with our native English speakers, right? They are helping in the same way, with correcting like the verb usage, speaking in full sentences, the same thing. And so we are empowering students. And at the same time, what we're doing is students are able to learn from each other, and they are able to bring who they are in the classroom in authentic ways and see themselves as contributors. And they feel seen, and they feel heard, and they feel validated, because every student comes in with strengths. They never come in just waiting for us to give them all the knowledge. That is not what we're doing in any classroom, whether monolingual or bilingual. So I teach third grade. Currently, I teach third grade. My students are 8 and 9-year-olds. And I want to spend some time today telling you a little bit about my class. And I want to bring the voices of our students, families, and community. So I hope that throughout the presentation today, you are able to hear the students who I hang out with and who I learn from, and who I get to get inspired by. The best part about teaching is that I get inspired by my students, their families, and my community. That's the best part about teaching for me, is that we can learn from others. We don't know everything. And guess what? It's okay. Teachers, we don't have to know everything. We have experts in our classrooms, and we have experts next to us in our buildings, in our schools. And that's the beauty of teaching, is that we can find inspiration in each other if we just listen. So I'm going to present. I'm going to go into my presentation, and I will be going in and out of the presentation. I hope you don't mind that. I feel like I can connect with you a lot more when I'm not looking at a screen with a slide. Okay. All right. So I want to, those are my students. Let me just move this out of the way. Here we go. Okay. So building community, the why behind building community is really to empower. to empower us as teachers so that we can facilitate learning and that kids are able to learn. We are an important factor in student achievement. That's to no surprise. Teachers matter. What we do matters. So we have to be very intentional about what we do. Building community doesn't just happen. We have to plan it. We have to have intentional lesson design and strategies to be able to create that. It is not enough to just sit down and listen to every kid tell you something important about them. There needs to be very explicit things that need to happen. So the affirmation for our time together is that we are a community of learners and knowledge holders. You are knowledge holders, and we are going to grow together in the next hour and a half. Okay. I want you to take some time to read this quote. And I'm in the chat, if you could please write either a word, a phrase, or a sentence that stands out to you. Once again, I'd love for you to read this quote. I'd love for you to write in the chat a word, a phrase, or a sentence that stands out or resonates. Thank you so much. We have a waterfall of chat answers here. If you are done, if you have entered yours, would you take some time to read what others in our community are saying that stood out to them? I love this. Thank you so much. So I read here that something really that stands out to us is the degree of trust. I saw lots of trust on there, mutual ownership. Alex, you said trust and comfort. Relational capacity, absolutely. Yep. I didn't know even that there was a word. Like we talk about this, right? Like when I was in my class, my 5th grade class, I was like, oh, she made me feel a sense of belonging and I trusted her and I wanted to just be like, what? There's a name to this. There's research on this. Relational capacity, energy and comfort. Yes, absolutely. So my objectives for this presentation here, this part, is going to be to give you some strategies and routines that will build relational capacity, which will lead to building community in your class. All right, give me a thumbs up in the with the emoji if we got the goals, like we know what's coming. So go ahead and show me with an emoji, thumbs up. Perfect. I see you. Thank you so much, Cindy. Awesome. Thank you. All right, as I go through this, I want to tell you about the things that I'm doing that are building community. Okay, what am I doing? I'm calling you by name. I see you. All right, I'm asking you to write something. Okay, I'm sort of clumping things together, like looking at what I see, some patterns of answers so that we can see each other as, oh, like we have something in common. We're saying well, we think the same in this way, or ooh, somebody has a different answer than I did. I never thought about that. I never thought that one didn't really stand out, but I can see why. Right? Okay, so I'm going to do this metacognition, think aloud, okay, as a teacher, and to tell you kind of like the why behind this. Now, when I was on teaching on Zoom, you guys, let me tell you, difficult, because we want to engage learners, right? We want to engage our students. And part of that sense of belonging and sense of safety and trust is done when you're face to face. It's done when you're in the same space. And so how do we create, that was my constant, struggle and question I had. How do I create that? How do I recreate that on Zoom? And I have found out, thank goodness for emojis on Zoom. Thank goodness for the chat on Zoom, because that helped me connect with students. No matter what or where we are, we think about making these connections. And sometimes you need to step out of your comfort zone. You have to, right? And it's challenging, but we need to be innovative as teachers and think of ways that we never thought that we're going to work to make these connections with students. Okay. And also, this is not just about students. This is also in an organization. Okay. In an organization, you want to get to know your employees. You want to get to know your colleagues. You want to get to know their stories, and you want to find out what you have in common. Same thing. This is why I talk about teachers being leaders and leaders being teachers. This is exactly the same thing, same skill set. Okay. So the why. Why should we even care about building community with our class? I just want to teach lessons, and I want to get through my curriculum, and I want to teach my lesson, on whatever it is, fractions. Okay, well, we need to pump the brakes and think about how we create spaces in which all students can learn, be challenged, and reach their full potential. And so I'm sure you've seen these in your methods courses. If you have not seen this in your methods courses, you will, because this hierarchy of needs, it helps us understand how learning or when learning can take place. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to kind of get through and read through it. And in the chat, if you could just write something that, just a word, it doesn't need to be a phrase, just a word. It could be one of the words like physiological safety, belonging, esteem, self-actualization, or one of the words here, just one word. If you have entered your word here, I want you to think about the answer you gave to the previous question. Are they somehow tied or related? Just think about that. Self-esteem, belonging, yeah. And I'm thinking about part of your stories that you guys shared earlier with me. And some of these words came up in your descriptions of your classrooms or the student, the teacher that impact or had an impact on you. Beautiful. I love it. All right. So we know the why. Why should we spend time with, being intentional about building our community? This is why we want kids to feel a sense of belonging. When they feel that, then they're able to be open to learning, take risks, and be challenged. Okay. I think a lot of times, we say like, oh, we need to meet students where they are. Yes. And for lots of these students, not only just for some students, but every kid needs to be challenged. Every student needs to be challenged. It does not matter, if they're reading at level, or if they have a different interest, whatever it is, like every student should feel safe, a sense of belonging, but also feel challenged in class and feel safe enough to take risks. when they're being asked to take those risks. Okay, so this is just my teacher in me. A tree map helps us categorize. You know this, by taking notes and all this, but I like to kind of point out lots of things that I do in my own classroom, and it's just to help students synthesize information or get information. And this is one way. It's called a thinking map, lots of trainings on that. And so today I use the thinking map, a tree map, to categorize. And so we're going to be looking at one area, and that's the classroom culture. The classroom culture, you can build it in many different ways. And these are just some ideas on what we can do. The number one thing is you got to know their names and correct pronunciation. Okay, so I know that these are difficult sometimes. If you do not, I always ask them, how does your mom say your name? How does your mom say it at home? Or how does your parent or family member say your name? How do you pronounce it? And I like to write out, if I cannot pronounce it correctly, like just spell it out the way that it will help me remember. And one of the things that I like is to memorize everyone's name in the first day of school. That's my goal. It's a challenge, and I love the challenge. I love it. I'm like, okay. And I tell them that at the very beginning. I'm like, okay, everybody, do you think Mrs. Diaz is going to be able to remember everyone's name today by the end of the day? And you can't help me. And they'll be like, oh, no teacher's ever done that. I don't think so. And other kids are like, yes, Mrs. Diaz, you got that. You got this. And so they really they show you right away, right? What they're thinking about you. And so at the end of the day, I remember everyone's name. And there are certain ways that I do this that will help me. Okay. One of them is I'm going to show you the name game. So the name game is a way that we get to learn everyone's name in a fun way. And so everybody, you can have whatever topic you want, but you can say, start off by saying your name and then something, a favorite something. So your topic might be favorite color. So, and then the next person repeats the previous person's name and then gives their name and then information. And so you kind of add to it. As you go in in a circle, or you're standing up, and then we just constantly revoice what their name is and what they like. So everyone was revoiced at the end of this name game. The other thing I like to do is I like to create a space where people can move, right? So for example, I would say, like, if I see my students are like really antsy, because sometimes you have students and they're really quiet. They don't want to get up and move. They don't want to get up and jump. They don't want to do any of that. You have to read your room, right? So maybe the name game is better. Okay. So, but I have a learning difference that went unidentified until I was in college. And that is, I have lots of energy. Okay. I sit on a bouncy ball. You can see it. It's a yoga ball. Because I have lots of energy. So what I like to do, if kids are really antsy, is I like to say, okay, I need you to tell me your name and then something you like to do, an activity, and then you have to act it out. So it would go like this. My name is Alondra and I love to dance. And so everybody will repeat it. Her name is Alondra and she loves to dance, and everybody does that. Okay. And then Renee will say, my name is Renee and I love to garden. And everybody will say, her name is Renee and she loves to garden. And if I point to Alondra, they'll be like, her name is Alondra and she loves to dance. And so everybody's moving. Okay. We got students who say, my name is, I'm telling you, Urbin. My name is Urbin and I like to play soccer. And he gets up and he does a kick. And all of us get up and do a kick. And then we continue and everyone learns someone else's name. More than one person. And we this game that I like to do, whether it's a name game or this, gesture, name and gesture game. We do it throughout the day. And then I'll just do like, a random thing like, okay, what is her name? Her name is Renee and she loves to garden. And sometimes when they forget, I'll be like, just doing the gesture, like, oh, garden. She likes to garden. Again, we're creating spaces in which students feel seen, heard, validated. They feel a sense of belonging. On the first day of school, somebody else knows their name and something that they like to do. I love that. First day of school. Okay, we're already creating that space for them to feel that their sense of belonging there. All right, so co-construction of community norms. This, again, for any organization, you don't have to be in a classroom, but what you want to do is come up with your own rules in your class. It's co-created, co-constructed. You are not telling them, in my class, we have 3 rules. Here they are, right? Together as a community, what kind of community do we want to have, everybody? Okay, what do we want to do? Want to be respectful? What does that look like? And we want to make sure that we give examples and non-examples. Like, what does it look like? What does it not look like? And they love to have fun with what it does not look like sometimes. So we create posters and we put them around the classroom. We sign, all of us agree to our final norms because we're holding each other accountable. And one thing I love to do with, you can see a lot of gesturing. Okay, so for our rules, for our norms, our classroom, co-constructed classroom rule norms, we have gestures. Okay, so this year we are respectful. And so what we say, we're respectful, we are responsible, we are kind. So when we say respectful, is we go like this, like we are respectful, and we kind of put our hands here. We are respectful, we are kind. This is co-constructed, okay? And we are responsible. And we put our hand right there and we go like this, responsible. We take action, we take responsibility for our learning, for the learning in our community that is happening. So this is the first day of school. Do you create it and then let it go and never come back to it? Absolutely not. You always come back to it and revise, not necessarily revise, but review it. And then sometimes, like yesterday, guys, it was a rough day yesterday. That was a rough day in my class yesterday. We had to come back to those norms. We talk about what is kindness. Okay, let's look at some examples. Let's look at some non-examples. What did we see today? Okay, great. Let's see. And then we put a name to that. Kindness looks like what? Right? To say something kind to somebody, to write a note, to check on somebody, to see how they're feeling. Okay. Tangible ways. What does it look like? Okay. And then I'm going to take a look at the chat here. Oh, yes, our class constitution. Yes, I've heard that. I love that. Yeah, and so everybody signs their name, right? And a lot of what I've seen in the upper grades also is they kind of take the language of the Constitution, like we the people, and in classroom 8. And so you could also do. I love that.
Mine was always in like kid wording, like you know what I mean. Like I would take the kids would brainstorm, and I'd have their exact wording, and then they'd vote. The ones that had the most votes, that'd be our top 5. And then it was great because anytime there was an issue, you go, wait, but you signed the Constitution.
That's
Like,
right.
it was so tangible. And they'd be like, oh, you're right, Miss Marshall.
That's right. So it's co-created, co-construction, but also co-constructed, but also you are held accountable and you hold each other accountable. You'll see the student who is like, hey, Cindy, what's happening right now? We all signed that. So it's no longer just the teacher, right? It's like each other. I love the feedback on the chat. I want to say thank you. Thank you for the feedback on here. As if somebody felt that pronouncing your name was important to you. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love feedback, and what you're doing right now in the chat is what a great teacher does. We give explicit feedback, and it's timely. Okay, so this has nothing to do with community, although it is, right? We are being seen. I feel seen. I don't feel like I'm just giving a talk here. I feel like I'm interacting with you guys, and that's very difficult to do when we are on Zoom. So I appreciate that. Appreciate your role in this, because I can't do that alone. Like, we're a community right now, and this is what's happening. Okay, so what else can we do? I love this one. Class mix pair, or I call it mingo mingo. En español digo muévete, 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 muévete. Okay, so this is how it goes. Again, for some students, right, sitting down and that's their thing. But I can tell you, after teaching 15 years, we all need to get up and move. Okay, and so what the students do, and there are variations to this. The students start to walk around. So you give them an assignment, okay, and you have like a piece of paper, and you're like, okay, answer, how you made a connection to the character, or write a word that describes the character, whatever it is, content that you're teaching. And then you walk around, and then if you play music, when the music stops, you put your hand up and you give somebody a high five. Pre-COVID. Okay, right now we're just like air high five, right? Things have changed. And so we pair up, and then we decide who is going to share first. Be very explicit when we teach routines, because they'll start talking at the same time. Like, think, pair, share, pair, and then blah, 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 my favorite color is, or whatever it is, explicit, right? What we do is this, Rochambeau. And they are so trained already. Okay, so if somebody had rock and scissors, right? So this person is going to go first. And that's how they know who's going to go first in their pair. There are many other ways to do this. A lot of people wear name tags that say A or B. Okay, so native Spanish speaker, native English speaker, even in monolingual classrooms, you can do this. And they pair up and they share. They take turns sharing, and they're listening to it. Okay, so they're using their voice, and every student, you should hear every student's voice every day. No, like every day we should hear them, multiple times we should hear. There is no reason why a teacher should go on a whole entire school day without listening to someone tell something, say something to them. And at first, I actually kept track in like a sheet with all their names, because I wanted to make sure that I was doing this. When I used to observe myself in videos, I was like, oh my goodness, I only picked on certain students. I only heard certain students' voices. Every voice, every day, and thinking, doing this think, pair, share, mingle, mingle allows for every student to speak. Every student, there's equity there. So we play music, and I teach them the basic steps of merengue. I teach them the basic steps of different types of music. And today we are going to do a little merengue, and we're going to stand up and take a brain break, because we've been sitting down for quite a while. And we're going to play a little bit, and I'm going to teach you the basic steps, and then we will try it out. Does that sound good? Give me a thumbs up if that sounds okay. We'll take a brain break right now. All right, sounds good. So what we're going to do is we're going to stand up, and if you feel comfortable, you can leave your camera. If not, turn off your camera. I'm totally fine with that. Okay, your comfort is of most importance to me. Okay, so if you want to turn off your camera for this, you can. All right, so we're going to stand up, and you're gonna kind of march. You're marching, you're stepping in place, and you're just marching there. Okay, just marching. Okay, you're getting your legs moving here. Okay, and then you kind of just start to kind of swivel your hip a little bit more to one side and the other. There you go, looking so good. I love it. So this is merengue. And merengue has an amazing history. If you don't know about merengue, we need to learn about it. Totally different workshop on that. But I love to bring in the countries where merengue is danced, I like to put the flags up in my classroom, and I like to teach them a few things about it. So we're still marching right here, right? So we have merengue music. March. You're just marching. Beautiful. You're just, then you can turn it, do a turn. Beautiful. You can add your shoulders. Beautiful. I love it. We can go ahead and have a seat. Here's my ball that went rolling over here. Okay, so this could be the music you use for Mingle Mingle. Okay, you play the music, you turn it off. When the music turns off, put your hand up and you find a partner. Rochambeau. One person shares, the other listens. And then they swap roles. Okay, I'm out of breath. What is this, Alondra? You danced for like 30 seconds. Thank you so much for participating in that. Again, we get ourselves moving and get our kids. You know, some kids are not going to feel comfortable, and that's okay. We want to celebrate the students who did not feel comfortable, who got up and who tried it anyway. We want to celebrate them. We want to say thank you so much for that. All right, so we know their names. We're getting to learn about each other. We're starting to see what we have in common. There are other ways that I'm sure you guys have done the four corners. If you have not, maybe like an icebreaker somewhere you've gone to, you put four corners and you put, it could be a category. It could be like, for example, swimming in one corner and there's like a picture, you know, swimming, a pool or someone swimming, and you put the word there. So over here is like playing basketball in a different corner, maybe a book in a different corner, and then riding a bike in a fourth corner. And so we can invite students to go to the corner of their favorite activity. And this could be about anything. It could be about who was your favorite character. It could be about how would you describe the character in the story. It could be academic as well. All of these things I'm going over with you can be used for academic purposes. I'm using them here just as kind of thinking of the beginning of your school year. All right. Positive self-talk is exactly what it sounds like. You are saying affirmations, you are saying it out loud. So I model daily positive self-talk, and I use some that come up in my class. If I hear someone say it early in the school year, I will add it to the list of positive self-talk affirmations. And we do this every single day. We start our day by saying this. And this is in Spanish because I teach in a dual language Spanish. I can learn, I can achieve my goals, I can ignore distractions, I can make great choices, I'm intelligent, I am kind, and I am unique. These are affirmations that my class gets to hear every single day. And it's actually, our affirmations are led by students. Many of these routines can be led by students, and this is one of them. So my students get to say an affirmation. If you have an affirmation that you like to tell yourself every day, that you wake up, that you read, or you write that in the chat. Is it something that you need to, is there a mantra? Is there something that you use to remind yourself? What do you say? What do you think? What are those affirmations that you tell yourself to get you through the day, or to remind yourself of your why? What is something that you repeat in your mind, or if you have it in a sticky note in front of, I have sticky notes in front of my mirror, in my agenda with affirmations. With this past year being such a difficult year in teaching, and the most difficult in my career, I had to find affirmations that remind me of my power, the power that I have as a teacher. And also to say that I am enough and what I'm doing for students is enough, even though I feel like every day, there are so many challenges, but I just get myself, I just tell myself like, you are a great teacher. You are doing what's best for kids. And I need to tell that to myself to push me through some difficult days, because we're all going to have those days, right? Not just in education, but just in general. Yeah, I am healthy and capable. Absolutely. I love that. I am kind. I am worthy. I deserve this. I'm deserving of this, right? What are some of those affirmations? Oops. Thank you for blessing me with and peaceful. Oh, beautiful. I am enough. I love this. Yes. Oh, is there a song? Oh, I'm going to have to check that out. I'm going to write that down. That's the name. I am enough. All right. Yeah, sí se puede. That is actually, I'm so excited that you said that, because that is one thing that we have in our classroom. We have two big phrases, sí se puede y échale ganas, because my mom would say that. So, I mean, she still says it, échale ganas, échale ganas. You can't translate échale ganas into Spanish. Into English, it's like do your best, but it's like do your best. Like, I don't know how to say it. I don't know why I'm making noises with this, but like échale ganas is give it your all, right? Give it your all. Yes, you got this. Oh, Cesar, your parents say the same thing. I'm telling you, everything in who you are, bring it in the classroom. Kids love authentic teachers. They like for them to be yourself. And you love something, if you love something, bring it in the classroom every day. Oh, the kids love that. Yes, give it your all. That's right. And are they only in Spanish? The phrase, Sophia, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, so the phrase in Spanish, yeah, it's I would say like maybe cultural, like
Okay.
yeah. So, but it would translate to give it your all and be your best.
Okay. I just want to know what it means.
Yeah, give it your all, give it your best. Yes.
Because I don't speak Spanish. That's why.
Oh, then we're gonna learn some Spanish today. Is there
Okay.
another language you speak?
Yes, I speak Arabic.
Yalla. That's the only thing I know.
Yalla.
Yalla, baby.
Okay, good.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. So you have so much to give your kids. Imagine that. Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
of course.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. So there are my positive affirmations, and then zones of regulation. We create spaces in classroom in which students listen. Okay, we're gonna have students who are having a difficult time. Okay, just telling you. Okay, we need to create spaces in the classroom that are still part of our community, that are still in our classrooms, that help them get through some of these emotions. So frustration, right? When students can identify their emotions, we can help them work through it. And I like to say that I've told you a little bit about what kind of student I was, and I was constantly getting, in trouble and getting called out for doing certain things. And that brought a lot of shame. And those were not good choices I made, but I also, I felt like I was a bad person at a very young age, and no one's really a bad person. We just make bad choices. So when a student is acting a certain way that, I can't get through my lesson or whatever it may be, I see that as information. Okay, an invitation to find out a little bit more of what is happening with the student. Okay, it is not that they are bad students or that they're disengaged because, they don't like me and I take it personal. No, when a student, however a student is behaving, is information for us, for teachers. They're informing us about something. And a lot of times we need to dig deeper to find out what is really happening there. So if my student is telling me that he's frustrated, and he might just tell me I'm in the yellow zone, and she might be like, I'm feeling really frustrated with, what happened during recess. And, somebody didn't, this came up this week. Somebody said something unkind about my hair. And I'm getting really frustrated because she said this 2 times already, right? And so I'm like, okay, of course, this student, do you think the student is going to want to, learn about, equivalent fractions right now when she's feeling super frustrated? She probably won't be at her best to learn. And so we create areas in our classroom in which they can go and take a break. It's okay. In this corner, this is very popular. You have calm corners, right? These are areas in which students are able to self-regulate. They are able to use a calming strategy to feel empowered, to feel like, okay, I'm in control. I'm in control. And so what this calm corner has is, first, we have ideas on our wall on what to do immediately if you're feeling in any other zone except for green. We always want to be in green zone. These are just zones of regulation. There are many other programs that you can use. This is what our school uses. So this is why I'm presenting this information. And so if they're not in green, they will then find something to do to help them get back to green. Deep breaths, counting 1 to 10, thinking of your favorite place. We can also do some Zen tangles like drawings. We have books to read. We have, little fidgets, things that they can play, puzzles to put together, and then they can time themselves and then return to the carpet or return to our lesson when they're ready. We are really giving students ownership when we do that. We're giving them ownership of their actions, and they're able to reflect and say, okay, I'm feeling this way. A lot of times I have to remind them, like, hey, do you need a brain break, mijo? Do you need a brain break? That's okay. You go get a sip of water, right? Sometimes a reminder, sometimes. So we have a signal where they don't have to be like, Mrs. Diaz, can I go take a mental break? They just show me this, right? Like, and I go, okay, it's fine. So we are inviting students to bring all of who they are. We don't just want the happy-go-lucky child in the classroom that follows directions and this is the only student we're going to accept. Like, we accept all of you. We accept who you are. And as adults, like, we're not always happy-go-lucky following directions. Like, there are times where we feel frustrated. There are times where we are tired. There are times where we feel disappointed. And then we have to self-regulate. So I talked to you guys about me feeling inspired by my students, and I'm going to stop sharing just right here because I told you guys about me feeling inspired by my students. And I can tell you that what I'm presenting about self-regulation, self-management, and relationship building has really, because I want to be a great teacher who allows kids to self-identify emotions and self-regulate. I have to learn how to do that, and I have to practice that. How am I going to teach students to do something I am not practicing? And I have to do that explicitly. You guys, in the middle of lessons, sometimes I'm like, okay, I think aloud. I'm going to take a deep breath right now, everybody. I'm feeling a bit frustrated. I'm feeling a yellow zone. They're so quiet. They're like, and they watch me self-regulate. So I'm going to take 3 deep breaths in. I'm going to exhale out. I'm going to think about something happy. I'm going to count to 10, whatever it is, whatever strategy or coping skill I want to teach. I'm doing that explicitly, modeling. I told you that building community is very intentional. What we do in our classes, it has to be done with intention. And we have to teach it explicitly. So we have to model how to self-regulate. And a lot of times, you guys, we need to co-regulate with the student, because I've had situations this year where, I'm feeling frustrated and the student's feeling frustrated, and we're like, okay, we're going to co-regulate together. We're going to take a break. We're going to step into our calm corner. And, the rest of the class, because we practice this so much, it's not surprising to them. They're just like continuing to do what they have to do, because we've built a community of respect in which everyone can be themselves and can problem solve. So I do want to emphasize that anything that we want to bring into the classroom, we need to be willing to try ourselves and to continue to work on it. And I feel inspired by the students I see them self-regulate. I see them continue to work through this. So I want to take a second here, and if you could please in the chat write something that has stuck with you. I am a language learner, and so anything that you'd like to share so far about the presentation, about our time together, anything that will help me sort of tap into your brain and see what you're thinking. Is that okay? Give me a thumbs up if we got that. Yeah, in the chat, is anything you've taken, anything that resonates, anything so far that you feel like, okay, this is in my mind, or it triggered something else. Please write it in the chat. That's beautiful. I appreciate what you are taking from this so far, and the role that you're playing in this. Oh, beautiful. Yes. Thank you for sharing, Sophia. Yeah, I am more than enough. I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for that gift. Anytime that I can tap into your world and see and feel what you're thinking is really a gift for me. So thank you so much for taking the time to do that. All right, shout outs. We do this all the time throughout our day in our classroom. And we give shout outs to people, and it's very explicit. A lot of times we're like, thank you for being amazing, or you are awesome. Like, I ask my students, what about them is awesome? What exactly do you want to say to your friend who's a good friend? What makes them a good friend? So we have classroom shout outs, we have class shout outs, we have individual shout outs, we have table shout outs. And we establish goals at the very beginning of the school day. They have their own personal goals, but we also have common community goals. We have table points. You can do this. You can find so many ways to celebrate their community. Some people have like a jar with marbles. Other teachers, I have colleagues who have like glitter, like a glitter jar, and they just add glitter to it. I mean, that's super cute. I do simple table points because honestly, I can barely, hang on this year. I'm like out of the classroom. So this year I did table points. It changes. I love that in teaching, you have so many different ideas. And there are so many ideas from colleagues who are just incredible. And you're always open to trying them if you are flexible, and so this is important because we don't want to do the same thing we were doing, 20 years ago. Some of these things can stay, but it's okay to step out of our comfort zone and try new things. So table points are just like if we have everybody sitting in tables and they all get to choose their name as a group of 4. And this week we had candy names. We change it and students get to tell us what categories. So we've done sports, we've done food, we've done movies, like all these different categories, and they get to choose their own name as a group. And then, so when I see them doing something that's phenomenal, they're being respectful, they're helping each other, I will say it out loud. I love how Sour Patch Kids tables are working together. They helped each other. I love how Johnny reminded Mikey next to him to put his materials, and then he helped him. I love that. Table point. See how explicit it is. It's not just like, great job, table so-and-so. What did I see that was great? We want to point that out. And you know what? The rest of the tables are like putting their materials away and helping, each other, because now you voiced behavior that was great, that you wanted to see, desirable behavior in class. We don't want to point out the negative behavior. We're like, oh, so-and-so is not ready, so I'm going to wait here until right. We don't want to do that. We want to create a space in which everyone is being respected. If we want our kids to be kind, we need to be kind. If we want our kids to be respectful, we need to be respectful. If we want to show them what it means to be responsible, we need to do that too. Like, we cannot have this, oh, we speak unkindly to kids and disrespectfully to kids. Like, no. We can't do that. Okay, so we do have, you can have a reward system for our community. We play loteria once we get to 20 points, 20 class points, and we get to play loteria in class. And we do prizes with that, and they love it. So it's a way to work together to achieve a goal. All right. Every voice, every day. I've said this before. Here are some ideas. So you want to do surveys and check-ins. Think, Pear, share is the one that where you meet with someone and then you share, right? Rochambeau, you go first, I go second, that kind of deal. Eye contact. Okay, I always feel really strange saying this because it's common sense, right? But there were times where I was so busy and so caught up with my lesson, like what I have to get done and all these things, a list of checklists, teacher checklists, that sometimes we forget to make eye contact with students. So we need to slow down, greet every student. And you can see in social media platforms, you have different ways to greet students. Fantastic ideas from colleagues and teachers. The teacher world, I love, because we are all willing to share. We're all willing to put it out there, and we're each other's best professional development and resources. We really are. And so there are ways that, somebody like learned, there were teachers that learned a special greeting specific to each student. We have the one where, you sort of like point to whatever it is, and it's like a hug or a high five or like a hello. And so they get to choose as they come into the classroom. For me, I check in with every student in line. Every single one of them in line in the morning. I make eye contact, I smile, and I'm like, hi, how are you? And sometimes I say, thank you so much for being here. I love that you're ready to go. Okay, start thinking about your goal for today. We do morning meetings and we do class meetings to talk about our day, to talk about how it went today. And sometimes we have, meetings where we need to, I call them like speaking truth, because we are able to remind each other, if we're having a difficult time as a class, remind each other of who we are in the classroom. And I love this because I need to be reminded of that too. I need to be reminded of who we are and who I am. And when little 8 and 9-year-olds tell you this, you're like, wow, yes, This is who we are. Model behavior you want to see, right? We don't want to speak badly about somebody and the kids are listening, or be unkind to somebody, like, like tell them something that's going to make them feel so small. We don't want to do that. We want to lift our kids. We want to see them grow and blossom. And when we say things that come off, unkind with our tone because we're frustrated and we're stressed out, it doesn't make us a bad teacher. It just allows us to think and reflect. Okay, wait, why do I feel this way right now? What do I need to do to just get back to green zone? Am I in green zone? Like, reflections. Okay, so tips for anything. Is really not just about building community here, but any strategy or whatever you want routine to be implemented. Here are some tips that I have found helpful. Share your why with students. Okay, if you're co-constructing norms, tell them why this is important. Affirmations, tell them why this is important. Standing up and dancing together, tell them why that is important. Okay, that's very important. You want their buy-in. Give explicit and clear feedback to students. Okay, if you're trying a new strategy, think out loud, like, oh, let's think about what went really well. What do we need to do better tomorrow? How can we strengthen this routine in our class? Ask them. They have the answers. You don't have to tell them. You don't have to be, the person who has to create this by yourself. Like, no. Invite them. They're part of this. It's their classroom. It's their family. They need to be felt like invited to contribute, to reflect. And you know what? They step up. They step out all the time. Teach it explicitly. Don't think like just because you told them how it works, now they're all going to make it work. Like when I did the think, pair, share, I was like, okay, think, pair, share. I thought everybody got it. And then I started noticing that they were getting together and then talking over each other. And so I had to stop. Rochambeau. Practice. Maybe even like fish bowl. Just let's look at one partner, see what they did. Very explicit. Oops. And then we want to make sure that we celebrate, and not just the teacher to student, right? Peer to peer. So important. Kids love to, make the teacher happy, and they, want to please the teacher, but they're also, they have a need to be celebrated, praised, and acknowledged by their peers. And as they get older, it is in my opinion, even more important. So I think that this level of connection, I cannot give. I can't give that peer to peer. Like I can help create spaces in which they do that. But I cannot do that. I cannot give that, right? All right. So I gave sort of like an intro to relational capacity. We talked about that. I gave you some strategies. And here is an affirmation. We are a community of learners and knowledge holders growing together. I've learned from you today. Here's the quote again. And this is what really stood out to me when I read this. And I love the collaboration among students and dialogue. I want to show you some pictures. This is a question I have for you. What would you like to try? And also, if you're not in a classroom right now, can you try any of these in your current spaces, in your current communities? Can you try any of this? Here are some of my students in action. So this is my think, pair, share I told you guys, where students would get to listen to each other. They take turns. In this particular case, they use a little bit, little whiteboards where they get to write their answer and then they get to share. And then over here, celebrate and praise. Here you get kind of like a blurry picture of our students that we're celebrating, because one of my student teachers who I mentor, who is getting ready to become a teacher, she scored in one of the games that we were doing, and everybody around was so excited, and we're just celebrating. You could just tell, how excited they're, like hugging each other and high-fiving. Love that picture. these are my current students. All these are my current students. So, you know, that community, even when I don't tell them like going to circles, circles are such an important part of our class. You'll find students collaborating in the classroom because they are respected. They respect each other, and they take risks. And here are two of my students, native Spanish speaker, native English speaker, helping each other, collaborating. So a classroom in which everybody feels, you know, safe, and also very supported. Here we have lots of visuals, we have language supports, and they're able to work with partners, or they're able to work on their own. They take ownership of their learning. They decide what is best for them. What do I need now to be successful? And I don't know if I'm going to be able to share this video, but let's see. Let's just try it out. Okay, so I have a little footage of my classroom, and I'm kind of go through and see if you can hear it.
She's inspiring.
Amazing.
Resilient, passionate, and giving. Persevering.
I just see her as a light.
Ever since I met Alondra, I knew the world needed to know her and be inspired by her.
Repitan. La pregunta del día es, ¿qué vas a hacer durante tu fin de semana?
She teaches dual immersion with Spanish and English.
Alondra, when she works from her background and where she came from as a native Spanish speaker, she really understands what it's like to be a language learner.
I want students to see themselves in my classroom. I want everyone to feel like, you know, they are reflected in the curriculum that we do, the stories that we read.
She knows how important it is to build a community in her classroom. And the way she starts her day, the way she connects with every student.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bien, va a ser un buen día hoy. Quiero que tengas tus metas presentes, okay?
She's all about making connections to every single kid. Having each of them have a voice in the classroom is important for her.
She's always emphasized that before anything. Know your children.
¿Puedes guiarnos en yoga esta mañana?
I want to pause here, and I want to tell you about this student. We have had difficult transition, right, from being at home and coming into school. And so this is not just one student. This is what I have seen to be more common this year, is when kids feel anxious and so making connections and creating a community in which everybody feels accepted despite, you know, what is happening, or what they did, or how, you know, impulsive something that they did that was impulsive. Like, we need to dig a little deeper. And I love this scene here. This is beautiful because I'm inviting him to come and join our community and to lead us. And he becomes the leader, and he joined us, and he led our yoga routine. We do yoga every single morning.
Que tú lo haces muy bien. ¿Sí? ¿Estás listo? Okay.
The way I see it, it's like I'm part of something. Like, I'm dancing with you. You know, I heard a story, and now I want to look at how can I include that story into my lesson.
Within her own lessons, she will integrate that social justice piece, the multicultural piece, to really keep the learning going and keep the motivation high.
I have the honor to be able to bring those values, bring in that culture, and honor the families. And I think that's where there's such great value, is when we bring in those, like, we're different, but like we're super similar. Like, there are some great things about us that make us human.
It was so rewarding to see, because coming from like as a person of a color, she like really manages to bring in those like dances. It's just something that is my favorite. She like incorporates a lot of dances in her classes.
it's not just about what she does with the students. It's so much about what she does with her colleagues.
One of the things that she does a lot is really support us teachers, especially teachers of color who maybe don't have the support that we sometimes need in order to keep moving and to keep succeeding. She will always tell us, remember your why. Remember why you are here and let that be your motivation.
My life was impacted by a teacher, like tremendously. I am first generation here, so my parents were both immigrants, and being part of a home in which, you know, you have a single mother with 4 kids, living like in poverty and being homeless, like there was a lot of trauma. I had a lot of what a lot of teachers saw as issues. And my 5th grade teacher, I don't remember her saying any of those things. Like she would say things like, wow, you're so energetic. And like just changing that language for me was, I started to think of myself differently. And I started to believe what she was saying. I was visible to her. That magic that she passed on to me, it changed my story. And I was able to rewrite it. I was able to write my own story. And I knew I was going to do this. I was determined to be a teacher because I believe in the power that we have. A great teacher is who they are. They are themselves. They bring it in the classroom. They invite others. They listen to each student's story. And somehow, in their own way, they bring in opportunities for kids to see themselves, to be reflected. And then they go, wow, I want to read, I want to learn, I want to write. And that's where magic happens.
She pours her whole heart and soul into her career. This year isn't just a standout year for her. This is someone who she is. This is her, what she does year in and year out.
Thank you so much for all that you have done for me, for others here in the profession. Thank you for always inspiring us, for pushing us forward, for being you.
Thank you, because when I first started teaching, you saw value in me, and that helped me grow every single year. So thank you.
The reason why oh, thank you. Oops. Sorry about that. Well, this is when we first found out. I want to, the reason why I showed this is because you got to see a little glimpse of my classroom. I couldn't, oh, thank you so much. I couldn't bring you into my classroom, but I wished, my hope is that today I brought my classroom to you and opportunities that what I'm telling you right now and what that actually looks like in the classroom, because I want this to be a workshop in which you feel like you can take something from this today and you can start applying it. Even if you don't have your own classroom today, I want you to feel like this was worth your time, and hopefully this invited you to think about your future classroom and your philosophy and your style of teaching and what you want to create. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the love in the chat. I really appreciate it. I want to say I'm done with my presentation, so I'd love for us to open up for any questions that you may have for me. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about, building community. It could be about my journey here. It could be anything you'd like to share. I really want to open up the last 25 minutes of our workshop to just ask any questions, share anything. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can unmute if you feel comfortable and just ask the question, or you can write your question in the chat as well and I can answer it. It could be about the process of becoming California State Teacher of the Year, any questions you may have regarding that process, or my journey to becoming a teacher. I did attend a community college, so I'm a huge proponent of teacher pathways at the community college level, and so I can talk about that. That is so sweet. I hear that you want to read my story. I haven't written my story yet, but I could definitely share that video, and also links to other talks that I've given before here. So that is something that I can do for sure. And I know that Renee has been keeping track also of the things that I have been part of. All right. Okay, Michelle Mateo, I see you. What you can unmute and share a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you so much for your time. I got so emotional, so inspired. So thank you so much. You are a great representation of us Latinas. My question is, what are the qualifications, or what did you need in order to teach in a dual language program?
Great question. And thank you so much for your kind words. I really want to uplift and honor, first gen college graduates, and so much. There's so much for sure. Thank you so much. BCLAD, so you have to get a credential that allows you, it's a bilingual authorization. So once you have the bilingual authorization and you can get that through with your credential, you would be in a program, in a credential that would focus on dual language. So you'd want to check with the university if they have dual language programs, and they'll give you a history of the bilingual programs and then classes that are required to get that authorization. And part of that is also taking an exam on certain, I think there are three components, but certain universities have their program set so that they don't have to take all of those tests, because some of them would be picked up from their classes. So I have a multiple subject credential with the BCLAD, which is a bilingual authorization.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, look into dual language programs. We need dual language teachers. Okay, I have a question from Eunice. How long did it take to find the right teaching style for you and your students? And does it change every year when you get new students? Oh, that's a great question. You guys have great questions. So how long? It's trial and error, really. And does it change? Not necessarily your style, but what strategies you decide to use. So, you might have a class who loves to dance and get up and move. And now you have to create ways in which you build it into your classroom. And so now you have more movement. So yes, it has definitely changed. I've added some things. I've been doing yoga for like 11 out of the 15 years. And I feel like that has something that has remained. But there are other things that I have taken in and out, and some routines students just don't like as much as maybe the previous years did. And that happened to me this year. I used to do a think, pair, share with 2 lines, and they used to take turns sharing, right? And then they would switch to the next partner. And this particular class I have right now did not like it. And so when we would do mingle, the one where you stand up and move and then you turn off the music and then you think, pair, share, that was their favorite. And they asked me, Mrs. Diaz, can we just do mingle when we share? And you know what? At first I was like, oh, I've taught you guys this, lines of communication. I've spent all this time teaching it explicitly. But if I really want to build that community, I need to listen to what my students are telling me and hear them out. And so we got rid of lines of communication, no problem. And we do mingle every single day, multiple times a day. So it just depends on your class for sure. I think a great teacher needs to adjust to their students. I hope that answered your question. Thank you. Any other questions for me?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
I was wondering, how do you do you do the transition in the classroom between one activity to another? And what's the easiest way for me to follow?
Great question. So there are multiple things I've done in the past, and it kind of goes along with what Eunice, what I told you, is it depends on the classroom. There are multiple ways. One is music. So you play music for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever you think it is. And it's the same song or the same music all the time. And you play, you're like, okay, I'm going to give instructions and then play the music. And then by the time the music ends, they're all in the next activity. That's one way that I've done it. There are a lot of teachers that do that. I say I have a community, a word, a magical word, and it could be a vocabulary word or whatever. For this year, my magical word is community. So whenever I give instructions, I make sure that somebody revoices the instructions. Mm-hmm. And then they show me thumbs up if they understand and they know what they have to do. So I am verifying that every kid knows what is the next step so that I can set them up for success for the transition. Then the second thing, I go 1, 2, 3, community. And when I say community, they do a response. They say, yes, we can. And then that's their cue to go into their next, whatever activity we're doing. That's the transition.
Nice.
So there are multiple ways you can do this. Music is what I have found that a lot of teachers enjoy. I change it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. And what if it is like toddlers? 2-year-old toddlers and preschoolers are together. So in this case, how you do transition?
Oh, transitions for these kiddos. Yeah, music is great for these kids. Also like buddying them up, because we can all sort of just get distracted. But if you have a buddy for cleanup, I did that one year where we had a really hard time sort of staying focused. That accountability is beautiful, but what is going to make every strategy or routine successful is practicing and giving that explicit feedback of desired behavior. And you can even do superstars of the transition. I'm looking for superstars for transition number 1. I'm looking for these amazing student role models who are going to transition quickly, respectfully. Let's see, who are these students? You better believe everybody is going to want to be that student. They're like, cleaning up and helping each other. And so we have to understand also with, developmentally, right? They might be moving a little slower or a little faster. And so making sure that your expectations are developmentally appropriate. I think that's one thing I have found out, when I moved from 6th grade to 3rd grade, I was like, you guys, I said the instructions 5,000 times. Why are we doing this, right? So really knowing your group and your audience, and trying things out. Don't be afraid to try something and then reflect on it, invite them to think about it as well. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. Try something else. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I love these questions that you have, and all the love in the chat. Oh my goodness. I really appreciate all of that. I want to wrap up by sharing a little bit of my experience becoming California State Teacher of the Year, and how I was like, why me? I'm so many, right? Like that's from, I don't know, like I was speechless, right? I was like, oh my goodness. I want to invite everybody to be the best teacher you can be and do this every day in class. Be a model of life, of being a lifelong learner. And I think to me, it was like, well, this is something I've done since I started teaching. I haven't changed anything. I don't feel like I'm a great teacher. I feel honored to represent the incredible educators in California. I am so honored that I get to carry that, their stories, their classrooms, their students. And I want to share with you stories of my students. I told you previously that I wanted to share this. During this process, what I have been able to do is bring important stories about how the pandemic has affected students and families. And also, even prior to that, like, we get to tell stories wherever we go as teachers. We get to share who our students are, who our communities are. And I think that every teacher is a great teacher when they know their students, their families, and they invite them into the classroom and accept them for who they are. And look for potential, help them reach their fullest potential, and challenge them enough to keep growing. Any and every teacher. So I'm honored to be California State Teacher of the Year for 2022 and the national nominee. The state nominee for the national program. But what I am honored to do most is to carry the stories of students like my student Urbin, whose family came from Guatemala, whose family left everything they knew, all their comfort, and they came to this country to provide opportunities in the same way that my mother did. And this family was incredible. They have taught Urbin to persevere. They have taught Urbin to work hard. They have taught him to be respectful in the classroom and listen to the teacher and do their best. And Urbin came in having a difficult time at the beginning of the school year. Like many kids, afraid, anxious, not knowing how to, how to be in a classroom anymore. They hadn't been in the classroom for a long time. And so, slowly, I got to know Urbin, and I got to know about his areas of strength. And I began to amplify that. He was a natural leader. He is curious. He is such a great member in our community who cares for others. And yet he told me in his own words, I don't know how to read. I don't know how to write. I don't know how to do this. I don't know. And you could see that he was like getting smaller, right? Like, I don't know. His shoulders are going up and, he's kind of hiding. And when we amplified his strengths, and I say we because the student teachers, they play a significant role in my classroom as well, is he started to feel confident in small, tiny things that he was already good at, right? So like we were amplifying his strengths. We're like, wow, this is amazing. And we'd say it out loud. And we started working with him in reading. We started working with him in small groups. We started working with him one-on-one, but we gained his trust first. We built that relationship first. He became part of our community first. And this student increased his reading level by 2 grades. That does not make me, oh my God, Alondra, the best reading teacher. I did what I was doing with all other students and previously. I tapped into his potential. He trusted me enough to take risks as a reader. And not only did he increase his reading level, he loves to read. He loves books. He feels confident as a reader now. And for me to see that, I am inspired by his level of perseverance. I am inspired by his hard work and the work ethic that I have seen his parents instilled in him. And yet at the very beginning of the school year, the student was refusing to do any of this work. So, you know, I share this story because we are powerful as educators. We play a significant role in the lives of students. And my hope is that in the same way that Mrs. Yellen helped me discover my potential, I hope that I can contribute a little bit to Urbin's ability to see his potential. And this is one story, right? One story. I have 30 students, but really getting to know our student and to try to figure out why they're behaving a certain way or why they say the things they do, right? Without taking it personal, without saying they don't care, without saying parents don't care. We need to look and dig deeper. We're doing important work in education, and I want to celebrate you and commend you for you accepting, considering to go into teaching, having, you know, all of these headlines and news and people posting videos about why they're leaving the teaching profession, right? I want to celebrate you and I want to say thank you for considering being a teacher. We need you. We need you. And students like Urbins need you, right? That student who's having a difficult time transitioning, they need you. Students who don't think they can learn, they need you. You are preparing yourself to be that agent of change, and you are important. And you are powerful. And I don't want you to forget that. And so please do not feel discouraged when you feel that things are difficult and they're hard in this pathway to teaching, whatever it may be in your personal life, whatever it may be. Remember your why and remember that story you shared with me in the chat of that one educator who you remember dearly. Things will get hard. Things will not they will not be easy. I hope they get easy for sure. We have a lot of issues in education, but I believe with all my heart that we, and you especially, are part of the solutions. You are part of this. And so I want to celebrate you and honor and lift you and say, you are awesome. You are, you are enough. And you are already an amazing educator by being here today. Okay. All right. I had a hand up here. I'm sorry. That was like a really long, like last 10 minutes of. Does somebody have a question or comment?
Hi. Question. I did a lecture and I did black brown discussion. And so there was some who, and I thought, we don't go past that. We're going nowhere, yeah. So how have you dealt with just kind of bringing it together?
Okay, I'm sorry. You were breaking up. Is it okay if you type it in the chat? I don't know, Renee, did you catch any of that?
I heard how did you deal with, but that was about the only, Beverly, it was going in and out.
The black brown discussion, bringing it together, bringing culture together.
Okay, and helping kids to talk about race and ethnicity.
So Renee, say that again.
I think she's talking about how to have discussions with children about different colors of skin, ethnicity, kind of who they are, and also like bringing groups together and appreciating whatever, people look like. They're coming to the table and working together. Is that right, Beverly? Okay. So any tips on how to do that?
Yeah. Yes, I love this question. We are in the classroom. We can help create the society we want to see outside, right? Like we want to live in a world in which everyone is embracing each other, and we're compassionate, we're respectful. So for me, the best way to do that is through books. I love to bring in books about, and these books have to reflect my students, but they also reflect the outside world, right? Like outside of our four walls. And so I might have a student who is of, Central American descent. And so I want to bring up a book. And then in my same class, there were people who have never heard of Central America. So then they get to kind of think about that. Also, if I don't have African American students in my class, like we are still bringing in books. And we are discussing this because in society, right, it's not just, it doesn't look exactly like our classroom, right? It's way, and depending on where you live, right? So for me, books and textbooks are perfect. I'll give you a brief example. There was a student who brought a torta, and a torta is it's a Mexican sandwich. It's a type of bread, and it comes with, you can put in like ham and mayo and lettuce, tomato. And one of the students had brought something, and another student had poked fun of it and said like, oh, like, what's that? Ha ha ha. Kind of poked fun of like, something that was different from theirs. And so one of the things that I did is I brought a book, and it's called Super Torta. And it is about this is actually imaginative narrative. And, but it invites students to think of things that are different from them, or things that they're not used to seeing. But then we learn about them. And guess what? You know who taught us about tortas and who became the expert? Yeah, the student who brought it. He became the expert, and he became the voice leading these discussions. And so I think that texts are so important, like in high quality texts that represent our society, right? And then have discussions around it. And students do wonderful at reflecting and talking about this. And we always talk at the end, like, what can we learn from this? What can we take from this? Right? Well, and so a lot of it is going to be you facilitating these conversations, but it's through a book. So you're not, doing anything that's, you're a teacher, you're bringing books. So bring a book, find a powerful book, read it, unpack it, create questions that are going to, create great discussions, and maybe have some difficult conversations, and that's okay. But again, just like any other routine, practice, tell them why, and give explicit feedback. Okay, so, all right, great. All right, well, we have come to the last part of our time together. I can't believe it's been 2 hours. I was honestly feeling like a little nervous about 2 hours. I was like, most of my talks are like here, but I feel like I know you guys. And I loved our time together. Thank you for embracing me for who I am. I don't always have the rhetoric and the language and the big words to say all of these things. And I really just wanted to bring you into my classroom and to tell you, what makes me a great teacher. And it's not the strategies, and it's not, it's not the routines. It's my students. It's my students who make me a great teacher. Because of them, I want to be better. Because of them, I want to get the latest, most innovative ways of teaching and facilitating learning. Because of them, because I want to be the best teacher for them, I get to improve every day. And I don't know about you, but I'm seeking to grow. And I have a job in which I can continue to do that. And I am so incredibly lucky to do that. And also lucky to be with you here. And that is one of my passion projects, is just to get out there and talk to pre-service teachers as much as I can. And I want to thank you for your time, and thank you for your stories, and thank you for embracing me, because that's what we do as teachers. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Alondra. You are just such a gift to all of us. And I appreciate your willingness and openness just to share who you are and to bring us into your classroom today. And I'm just praying this is the beginning of many collaborations. And so thank you so much for being with us, and for just creating this beautiful space and opportunity today. And especially as we're wrapping up the semester, wrapping up the school year, and just, finished up Teacher Appreciation Week. It's just the perfect time to come together. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. If people are available, we have 2 more workshops today. So we got a little break right now. Then we're back on at 3 o'clock. So anybody who's into ECE and nature-based learning, we've got something special. And then later on tonight, we also have a special education, different careers in special ed workshop with Tracy, and she's fantastic. So everybody have a wonderful day. And Alondra, thank you again so very much for everything.
Thank you. And somebody asked about my contact information. Yes, can I write it in the chat real quick? If you want to contact me, please feel free to contact me. I'm writing my email here. Sorry, Renee. I should have done that.
Thank you for being accessible. I appreciate that. Caitlin, I see your hand up too. Do you have a comment real quick or?
Oh, I have a question about the nature workshop. I thought it was at 4.
Yes, it is at 4. I'm sorry. Did I just say 3?
Yes. So
it's because I'm totally leading a focus group at 3. I'm so sorry, Caitlin.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
But I'll see you at 4. I'm leading one from 3 to 4. I'll see you at 4. Sorry about that.
Okay, no, thank you.
Thanks for saying something. I totally appreciate it. Awesome. And Alondra just put her information in the chat.
Yes, please feel free to reach out. I'm here to help. I'm here to support you in any way. And if I can't do that, then I'll connect you with someone. We are all for each other. I mean, so we're here to support you and this profession. And we want to make sure that we provide you with the most support we can, because we believe in you. We believe in every single one of you. And we want to just continue to work with you.
I love it. In solidarity, everybody. See you at 4, not at 3. Have a good
Adios.
one.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Alondra.